Good evening, everyone. How's the sound? Can you all hear me out there? Okay. Well, I was told to be brief, so thank you for coming and have a good evening. I guess I better stay. My name is Charlie Oliver, and I'm representing the library's Board of Trustees. I want to welcome you all here for our kickoff event for the Big Read of Attleboro. NEA's Big Read events were created to expose people to new genres and ideas and to challenge their current tastes in literature. And so you will not only get to read something that you might not ordinarily have read, in this case poetry, but you will also get to participate in a wide variety of community events. And these events will delve into aspects of Native American lore and culture, which form the framework of this year's work, An American Sunrise by American Poet Laureate Joy Harjo. We live in a city in which so many groups and organizations interact and work together for our common benefit. And that's a real blessing. And One ABC's Attleboro Big Read is an exceptional example of community. So I hope you take the time somewhere in the next couple of months to look at their website, Attleboro's oneabc.org. Check my notes. Attleboro's oneabc.org. And look at just what an example this is of 11 partnering organizations, 19 committee members on the One ABC committee, and 25 supporting organizations and individuals who are making this year's Big Read happen. And we should all be extremely proud that the NEA, National Endowment for the Arts, considers Attleboro's Big Read to be exemplary. And it's a really good model for other communities to emulate. And that has earned Attleboro the highest possible NEA grant for 2021. And the library trustees certainly want to congratulate the One ABC committee for that outstanding achievement. It's the most money we have ever brought in for this event. Hear, hear. So tonight we will hear some community leaders and activists who are going to read some of their favorite poetry. And these poems will speak to America's past, to its present, and to our hopes and aspirations for its future. So, on with the show. Please make sure that you leave here with a schedule of events and a free copy of Joy Harjo's book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie. And I'd say much of what we have been able to do this year is thanks to our new library director, Amy Rilinger, who really had a baptism by fire. My name is Kathy Hickman. I've been involved with the Big Read since the very first one 15 years ago. And this is a very exciting event today. Despite the crazy wind, we're thrilled to have a sunny day. And I thank Cheryl Harris for her special prayers to make this happen. And I'd like to welcome all of you, all of our dignitaries. Special thanks to the YMCA and Robin for providing chairs. And to the public library and all of the staff. They have had yeoman work to do since the renovation has begun. Particular thanks to all of you who have so enthusiastically said yes to the invitation to share a poem today with everyone. By its very nature, poetry is meant to be read aloud, spoken aloud, heard and appreciated by an audience who will resonate with its distilled wit and wisdom grace, and grit. In the words of Joy Harjo herself, it is poetry that holds the songs of becoming, of change, of dreaming, like birth, coming of age, marriage, accomplishments, and death. Sometimes 3 or 4 little lines can hold a whole lifetime. Today's poems are strung together very loosely by that theme, life as an unfolding journey. And so let us begin in childhood. Todd Kobus, intelligence analyst, veteran, and Attleboro City Councilor, will read On Children by Khalil Gibran.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Amy, and everybody involved with the Big Read for setting this up. And I chose this item because I liked it when I first heard it when I was in high school in Mr. Bennett's class. And I love thinking about it now as I raise my 3 children. So without further ado, on children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. Though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. Thank you.
Our second selection may be recognized by many of you, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod by Eugene Field. And our reader is Kathy Haig, who for 24 years has held the position of manager for public and community relations at Sturdy Hospital. Let's welcome Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. I selected this poem because it's a childhood favorite. On Friday nights, I used to sleep at my aunt's house, and we would go downtown, we would go some shopping, we would go to the bakery, and when we came back, we would have the baked goods. And then before she put me to bed, she would read this story to me. And at the end, she would spray perfume on me and say sweet dreams. So I wanted to share that with you today. Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod one night sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. Where are you going and what do you wish? The old moon asked the 3. We have come to fish for the herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and gold have we, said Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. The old moon laughed and sang a song as they rocked in the wooden shoe, and the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in the beautiful sea. Now cast your nets wherever you wish, never afraid are we. So cried the stars to the fishermen 3, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. All night long the nets they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail it seemed, as if it could not be. And some folk thought 'twas a dream they dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name the fishermen 3, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Winkin' and Blinkin' are the 2 little eyes, and Nod is the little head. And the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while mother sings of wonderful sights that be, and you shall see the beautiful things as you rock in the misty sea. Where the old shoe rocked the fishermen 3, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod.
I'd have to say that all of our readers today have extensive resumes, but in the interest of time, we're keeping those descriptions quite short. And here is the shortest. Our esteemed mayor, Paul Hero, will be reading a poem by Mother Goose.
Good evening, everyone. So, mine is actually so short that I was told to comment on why it has significance to me. But it is a small little poem, or maybe even just a rhyme by Mother Goose, and it's good, better, best, never rest till the good be better and the better be best. So I came across that when I was in college, and I used to swim in college. I swam a lot in college. I had a 4% body fat. Now I'm just fat. But what I thought about that was that it was one lap at a time, one stroke at a time, one workout at a time. And when you're in the pool, that's what I always thought about, just getting better and better and better. Now when I'm in politics, when I'm going out knocking on doors, it's the same thing. It's just one more door, one more street, one more precinct, one more ward. It's just always trying to push yourself a little bit better. And the significance of that in politics to me, and the way this kind of expands outwards, it goes back to the United States in our founding in trying to create a more perfect union. Good, better, best, never rest till the good be better, the better be best. And that's what the spirit of America is all about. It's to create that more perfect union. One day at a time, one act at a time, one effort at a time. So that's my poem. I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, childhood dreams soon turn to real-world demands, and we struggle to find our place in our community and in the world. Written in the form of paternal advice to his son, Jack, Rudyard Kipling's If has been chosen by State Representative Jim Hawkins. It is said that this poem is an example of Victorian Stoicism. Here's our Stoic, Jim Hawkins.
Thank you, Kathy, for chasing me down when I don't answer phone calls and don't answer emails. And congratulations to Amy for surviving all the chaos of the construction. I've actually been looking forward to this after a life of briefings and laws and stuff like that. This is fun reading. So thank you for all your work to make this happen. This is Rudyard Kipling. The poem is If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated but don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good or talk too wise, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can hear the truth you've been spoken, twisted by knaves to make traps for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of the pitch and toss, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Now Mary Oliver offers some reassurance in her poem, Wild Geese, read by Amanda Blount, who is in her third year as Executive Director of the Literacy Center right next door.
Thank you. I've always loved this poem. I love this entire collection. I think Mary Oliver is a great reminder that all things are connected, and I think we certainly needed that reminder over the past 18 months. Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Thank you.
As life's paths continue to diverge, we make defining choices, and finding our own voice becomes an imperative. Ray Spadoni, Chief Strategy Officer for Hope Health, has chosen another poem by Mary Oliver called The Journey.
Thank you, Kathy. This poem and poet are well known by many, but I've come to know and appreciate both more recently. The themes here are about change and journey and nature and courage and the importance of foregoing external voices for something else. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save.
Langston Hughes packs a lot of wisdom in a very short poem titled Helen Keller, and it will be read by Michael Andrade, President and CEO of the Arc of Bristol County.
Thank you, Kathy. So, similar to the mayor's, mine is probably a little bit longer, but it's short in the sense that in words, but not necessarily in its power. Why I chose this particular poem is for my life, both in my work and in my personal life, we try to look at what people can do. We try to look at the strength and the possibilities. So, it goes as, she, in the dark, found light, brighter than many ever see. She, within herself, found loveliness through the soul's own mastery. And now the world receives from her dower the message of the strength of inner power. Thank you.
Now, just as we're getting into another time of uncertainty in our life, just when we need to hear it, Amy Rilinger, our fearless Attleboro Public Library Director, is going to share Instructions on Not Giving Up by Ada Limon.
Thank you. Those of you who know me know that I am a big poetry fan. It was really hard for me to pick one poem to read, so shout out to my Mary Oliver fans. But today I'm going to read this that I think you can all relate to in 2021. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbors' almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, it's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all.
Another new director, Melissa Tucker, was recently installed at Attleboro's Council on Aging. Melissa has written her own poem, Ode on a New Senior Center. Melissa.
Hi, everyone. I just saw this opportunity to introduce myself, and as an advocate for seniors, I think this poem speaks for itself. After several years of work at the Senior Center, I'm now the director, a calling, if you will, for which I've been proud to enter. The seniors in our city need a good place. To not provide one is just a disgrace. As the senior population here grows, the need for more space definitely shows. For those over 60, it's my job to lure, assess their needs, and make them secure. A lofty goal for anyone indeed. Thank you to my amazing staff to help me succeed. The budget is not easy for some, they say. There are several people that won't get their way. Don't overwhelm, one day at a time. The budget is tight, so watch every dime. So many programs and so much to do. Keep the focus on the seniors and the rest will come through. Bring in both the old and the new. I'm not Uncle Sam, but may be looking for you. At the end of the day, I do my best and often pray. I hope nobody will go astray. Thank you, Big Read, from your friends at the COA. Just remember, where there's a will, there's a way.
The gauntlet has been thrown. Edgar Guest has penned the encouraging words of Keep Going, a poem which is sometimes attributed to John Greenleaf Whittier under the title Don't Quit. Either way, as CEO of the Attleboro Norton YMCA, Robin McDonald keeps us focused on our goals.
It's not easy following somebody who's talented enough to write their own poetry. And I know I share this with some of the people in the seats that when somebody said, can you pick a poem, I'm thinking poetry and art was on the other side of the campus when I went to school as a phys ed major. And I didn't make it to that side of the campus. But when asked to pick a poem, I searched for something that I think has helped me, and I think as I think about being an American and our country, perseverance and grit sets us apart. Not always the smartest person in the room, maybe not the most creative, but certainly not quitting is a strength that I know many of us share in this country. So that's why I chose Don't Quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, you may want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not quit. Life is strange with its twists and its turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. Many a failure comes about when we might have won if we had stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver taint in the clouds of doubt. And you can never tell just how close you are. It might be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you do not quit. For all the sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these, it might have been.
perfect message for today. Joe Harjo's poem, Honoring, will be read today by Lisa Piscatelli. Lisa is the executive director of the Attleboro Interfaith Collaborative. And this poem is also the focus of the Attleboro Art Museum's Big Read exhibit this year, which is going to start on September 18th. I would urge you, it's going to be there for about a week, definitely not to be missed. Lisa.
So I selected this poem. It was a reminder of growing up, and my mom always did do a blessing before we had a family meal. And I didn't really truly cherish that until I joined the Interfaith Collaborative and I saw Food and Friend in action. And so this poem, I'm reading and dedicating it to all of the volunteers that are there day after day and truly year after year. Honoring. Who sings to the plants that are grown for our plates? Are they gathered lovingly in aprons or arms? Or do they suffer the fate of the motor-driven whip, of the monster reaper? No song at all, only the sound of money being stacked in a bank. Who stitched the seams in my clothes, one line after another? Was the room sweaty and dark, with no hour to spare? Did she have enough to eat? Did she have a home anywhere? Or did she live on the floor? And where were the children? Or was the seamstress the child, with no home of his or her own? Who sacrifices to make clothes for strangers of another country? And why? Let's remember to thank the grower of food, the picker, the driver, the sun and the rain. Let's remember to thank each maker of stitch and layer of pattern, the dyer of color in the immense house of beauty and pain. Let's honor the maker. Let's honor what's made.
Speaking of honoring the makers, we will now hear from gifted clay artist Sarah Mott. Sarah is the former president of the Attleboro Arts Museum and co-founder of Empty Bowls, which is an ongoing project to alleviate food insecurity in the area. Sarah has composed her own poem, I Work in Clay. Sarah.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much. So I would say my poem kind of hits more on the hope and aspiration directive that we have. At least personally it does for me. I hope you like it. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Seems my world is constantly spinning. Slippery hands, slippery slopes. Engage. Focus only on the swirl. Firmly encircle and gently coax. Feels like riding solo on a knife-thin edge. Spinning, keep spinning, striving for perfect balance, working towards a center locus, and suddenly, there it is, a shape that begins to sing. Next, open and embrace this new beginning with promise and calm. Only, now it seems quite challenging to hold onto the growth, the energy, the fragility. Only now, the future is precisely there in my palm. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Draw up that future, magically spiraling, springing from my hands. Gently, strongly, gently, steadily, gently, confidently, gently on, coaxing my vision into shape. Mind the curves, hum to that song. We've reached the top, an exacting task. Beaming back now is a fresh new form. Wet, slippery, shiny, no edges torn. Prepared, well wedged and thrown to greet its future. Out into the world it will be sent. A spinning vessel from clay is born. Thank you. Did I do okay? There you go. Well, thanks for asking.
Well, how lucky are we to get into the mind and hands of a real maker and a real gifted artist. Thank you, Sarah. And now we move into a rather different stage of life. The days dwindle down, and we reluctantly find ourselves in the latter stages of life, where we're fumbling with our notes. And Ed Casey, Army veteran, Rotarian, and local lawyer, reminds us, in Dirge Without Music, written by Pulitzer Prize-winning poet Edna St. Vincent Millay, who wrote 100 years ago, that some words and some thoughts are timeless. Ed.
There were three reasons that I picked this poem. One was the coming 20th anniversary of 9/11. The second was the pandemic in this country with somewhere in the area of 750,000 deaths. And then more personally, the recent death of a close friend. I am not resigned to the shutting away of loving hearts in the hard ground. So it is, and so it will be, for so it has been, time out of mind. Into the darkness they go, the wise and the lovely. Crowned with lilies and with laurel they go. But I am not resigned. Lovers and thinkers, into the earth with you. Be one with the dull, the indiscriminate dust. A fragment of what you felt, of what you knew. A formula, a phrase remains. But the best is lost. The answers quick and keen, the honest look, the laughter, the love. They are gone. They are gone to feed the roses. Elegant and curled is the blossom. Fragrant is the blossom. I know, but I do not approve. More precious was the light in your eyes than all the roses in the world. Down, down, down into the darkness of the grave. Gently they go, the beautiful, the tender, the kind. Quietly they go, the intelligent, the witty, the brave. I know, but I do not approve, and I am not resigned.
Cheryl Harris, recently retired pastor of First Baptist Church in Attleboro, and currently a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, expands the theme that we just heard from Ed with a poem by Maya Angelou, When Great Trees Fall. Cheryl.
This is such a treat for me to be among so much wonderful poetry. And I too, Ed, have been moved by what we've experienced over the last 18 months and chose Maya Angelou's poem, When Great Trees Fall, because she takes us into lamentation and moves us into hope. And I think that it's important for us to remember that we do get to a place of hope. And it seems particularly appropriate now because death, loss, as tragic as it is also an inevitable part of the human experience. So her poem, When Great Trees Falls. Please enjoy. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, unpromised walks not taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable silence of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same. Whisper, they whisper to us. They existed. They existed. And we can be and be better, for they existed.
And now a little lighter take on our later years. Warning by Jenny Joseph, read by Mim Fawcett, Executive Director and Chief Curator of the Attleboro Arts Museum. Mim.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for the shout out about the upcoming exhibition at the museum, September 18th through 25th. And thank you all for being here today, and to my fellow members of the Big Read committee, all the partners. Thanks to all of you for making this program happen every year. It really is a highlight for all of us. My poem, Warning, is by Jenny Joseph. When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple, with a red hat, which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick flowers from other people's gardens and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry and pay our rent and not swear in the street and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little bit now.
so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple.
And finally, a poem that provides a timely and hopeful message to tuck into our hearts as we leave here today. Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye, read by Marcia Szymanski, Executive Director of New Hope. Marcia is also a member of the Fine Line Poets and has been writing poetry herself for over 20 years. Marcia.
Thank you, Kathy, and thanks to the Big Read. I'm thrilled to be here. So I chose this poem, Kindness, because it really speaks to the fact that deep kindness often comes out of our brokenness. And many of us, probably all of us, have a place of brokenness, but we also have places of kindness. And I really believe that that is what we need to heal the planet, to heal ourselves. So kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved. All this must go so that you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you seize the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes everywhere like a shadow, everywhere with you like a shadow or a friend.
Perfect message to take home. I'd just like to again thank all of our dignitaries. I thought every single poem was worth remembering, and thank you very much for taking the time. And as I look at it, all of you, I just want to remind you that although we have 16 wonderful activists and leaders here today, we have as many in the audience. Attleboro is full of hundreds and hundreds of people, volunteers, leaders, activists, who work every single day, often behind the scenes, to create the special place that Attleboro is. So if any of you think you would like to do this in the future, be part of a poetry or anything else, please let Amy and people at the library know. And in the meantime, we have amazing events coming up all through September and October with the Big Read. Check out the website at the library. Sunday's paper had an entire list of events for the Big Read, and we are so grateful to all of you for being here. Let's hear it again for our readers.